From prison to freedom, the untold story of a man who survived it all. If you think you know what prison looks like, you don't. Hit subscribe, because this story doesn't just expose the system. It drags you inside it. The alarm started before dawn. Metal screamed against metal as cell doors slammed shut in a chain reaction down the corridor. Somewhere, a man was yelling. No, not yelling, begging. Then came the thud. A body hitting concrete. Guards rushed past in riot gear, batons ready, boots pounding like war drums. Marcus Hale hadn't even been inside 12 hours. He stood frozen in his cell, gripping the cold bars, watching chaos unfold through a narrow slit of reinforced glass. Across the tier, inmates pressed their faces to their doors, hungry for information. In here, knowledge was currency, and silence could get you killed. First night, a voice came from a bunk behind him. Marcus turned. His cellmate, Darnell, sat calmly, lacing his boots like nothing unusual was happening. "What's going on?" Marcus asked. Darnell didn't look up. Someone broke the rules. "What rules?" That's when Darnell smiled, a slow, knowing grin that didn't reach his eyes. "You learn." The shouting stopped as suddenly as it began. Silence flooded the block. Then came the smell, metallic, thick, unmistakable. Blood. An hour later. The doors reopened. Breakfast was served like nothing had happened. Marcus followed the line into the chow hall, hyper-aware of every movement. Eyes tracked him. Conversations paused when he passed. In prison, you didn't just exist, you were evaluated. At the far corner sat a group of men who didn't need to look up to command respect. Tattoos marked their hierarchy. Their silence was louder than the rest of the room. Darnell leaned in. That's where power sits. You don't look. You don't speak. You don't exist to them unless they decide otherwise. Marcus nodded, but it was already too late. One of them had noticed. A man with a scar carved across his face tilted his head slightly. Not a threat, not a greeting. Something worse. Recognition. That afternoon, Marcus learned the first real rule of survival. Guards didn't run this place. Inmates did. And the guards? Some of them were just part of the system. That night, during lockdown, Marcus couldn't sleep. The walls felt closer. The air heavier. Somewhere down the hall, a man whispered prayers. Somewhere else, someone laughed, a hollow, broken sound. Then Marcus saw it, etched into the underside of his bunk. Hidden where no one would casually look, were words scratched deep into the metal. They are watching. Trust no one, not even the ones in uniform. Marcus's stomach tightened, because earlier that day he had seen a guard slip something into Darnell's hand. And Darnell hadn't said a word about it. By the third day, Marcus stopped counting time. In prison, days didn't pass. They pressed down on you, slow and suffocating. The lights buzzed constantly. The air smelled like rust and sweat, and every sound carried meaning. A cough, a whisper, a sudden silence. Marcus was learning, not from books, not from guards, from survival. Darnell had changed. The quiet, almost indifferent cellmate from the first night now watched Marcus more closely. Not like a threat, but like someone calculating, measuring risk. "You read the bunk," Darnell said one evening, his voice low. Marcus froze. "What makes you think that?" Darnell chuckled softly. "Everybody reads it eventually. Question is what you do after." Marcus hesitated. "It's about the guards, isn't it?" That's when Darnell finally looked him dead in the eyes. "It's about everything." The truth came in fragments. Contraband didn't just appear. It was delivered. Fights weren't always spontaneous. They were scheduled. Punishments weren't about discipline. They were about control. And some guards, they weren't enforcing the system. They were running it. Marcus started noticing patterns. Certain inmates got away with things others couldn't. Certain doors opened faster. Certain names carried weight beyond reputation. And always the same guard, Officer Reyes. Tall, composed, always watching. He didn't shout like the others. Didn't swing his baton. But when he walked into a room, even the most hardened inmate shifted. Marcus saw it again during yard time. Reyes stood near the fence, arms crossed, scanning the crowd. Darnell approached him casually. Too casually. No tension. No fear. Just a brief exchange. A handshake. Too long to be normal. Too quick to be obvious. Something passed between them. That night, Marcus pushed harder. "What are you involved in?" he demanded. Darnell didn't answer right away. He sat on the edge of the bunk, staring at the floor. "You ever wonder why that guy died your first night?" he asked instead. Marcus felt a chill. They said it was a fight. They always say that. Silence stretched between them. Then Darnell leaned closer, voice barely above a whisper. "He wasn't supposed to die." Marcus frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means," Darnell said slowly, "someone made a mistake. And mistakes in here don't get reported, they get erased." Marcus's pulse quickened. "Erased how?" Darnell stood up, walked to the door, and tapped lightly, once, twice. Footsteps approached. Not loud, not rushed, deliberate. Officer Reyes stopped outside their cell, his face unreadable. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Reyes looked directly at Marcus. Not through him, at him. "You're asking too many questions," he said calmly. Marcus's throat tightened. "I don't know what you—" Reyes cut him off with a slight smile. "You will—" The slot in the door slid open. A folded piece of paper dropped onto the floor. Then Reyes walked away. Marcus stared at it, hesitation crawling through his veins. Darnell didn't move. "Go on," he said quietly. "You're in it now." Marcus picked up the paper, unfolded it, and felt his entire body go cold. It wasn't a warning. It was a list. Names, dates, and next to each one, a single word, transferred. Marcus looked up, confused. "What is this?" Darnell's expression hardened. "Those aren't transfers," he said. Marcus's voice cracked. "Then were they?" Darnell stepped back into the shadows of the cell. "They're ghosts." By the end of the first week, Marcus understood one thing with absolute clarity. No one was getting out clean. The list never left his mind. Names, dates, transferred. Ghosts, men who had existed one day and vanished the next, erased without records, without questions, without consequences. Marcus stopped asking who ran the prison. He started asking why. The answer came faster than he expected. It was lockdown again. No alarms this time. No chaos. Just a quiet, suffocating order that spread across the block like a disease. Cell inspection. The intercom crackled. Darnell stood up immediately. No hesitation. No surprise. "They're coming for someone," he muttered. Marcus's pulse spiked. "Who?" Darnell didn't answer. Boot steps echoed down the corridor. Slow, controlled, deliberate. When the door opened, Officer Reyes wasn't alone. 2 guards stood behind him, faces blank, hands resting too comfortably on their batons. Reyes stepped inside, his gaze locked on Marcus. "It's time," he said. Marcus backed up instinctively. "Time for what?" Reyes didn't respond. Instead, he held up a clipboard. Marcus saw it. His name, at the bottom of the list. Transferred. "No!" Marcus shook his head. "I just got here. That doesn't make sense." Darnell exhaled quietly from behind him. Not shocked, not confused. Resigned. Marcus turned to him. "You knew?" Darnell didn't meet his eyes. "I tried to keep you out of it." "Out of what?" Marcus snapped. Reyes stepped closer. "Out of a system that requires balance." Marcus's voice rose. "You're killing people." Reyes tilted his head slightly. "We're maintaining order." The words hung in the air, cold and clinical. Marcus's mind raced. "Why me?" For the first time, Reyes smiled. "Because you noticed." Silence. Then Darnell spoke, his voice heavy. "And because I vouch for you." Marcus turned, stunned. "What?" "They needed someone new," Darnell said. "Someone clean. Someone no one would question disappearing." Betrayal hit harder than fear. "You set me up?" Darnell clenched his jaw. "I survived." The guard stepped forward. Marcus's back hit the wall. This was it. Another name. Another ghost. But something inside him snapped. Not panic. Not fear. Clarity. They're not all dead, are they? Marcus said suddenly. Reyes paused. Just for a second. That was enough. Marcus stepped forward, his voice steadier now. The list? It's not executions. It's something else. You're moving them. Off the books. Reyes's expression shifted, barely. You're smarter than most, he admitted. Marcus locked eyes with him. Then don't waste me. A long silence followed, the kind that decides whether someone lives or disappears. Finally, Reyes nodded once. The guards lowered their hands. Darnell looked up, confused. What is this? He asked. Reyes turned to him. Adjustment. Then back to Marcus. You don't get freedom, Reyes said. You get purpose. Days later, Marcus walked out of prison. No chains, no record. Officially, he had been transferred. Unofficially, he had become part of the machine. A ghost who didn't vanish, but made others disappear. And somewhere, carved into a new bunk, fresh words appear for the next inmate to find. You don't survive this place. You become it. If you think this story ends here, you haven't been paying attention.